I never thought a dishwasher could turn the tables on millionaire chefs. Unbelievable. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The smell of burnt oil lingered in the air, heavy and oily, as I scrunched my shoulders, feeling the tightness in my chest. I had put my heart into that souffle, the one that was supposed to impress the judges, the one that would take me from a struggling cook to a celebrated chef. But as I peered through the smoky haze, I saw my dream slip away like steam in the air. There I was, in that fancy kitchen, bright lights shining down, as I fought against the chaos. My hands shook, trembling like a leaf in the wind, while the clock ticked relentlessly beside me. The laughter of my competitors echoed around me, each chuckle a sharp knife in my gut, reminding me of just how high the stakes were. Broken dreams lay scattered like shattered plates, every failure mingled with the sweet scent of opportunity, taunting me. Everyone knew those millionaire chefs. They strutted around in their crisp uniforms, masks of confidence covering their fears. I remembered my mother's advice, her voice laced with warmth, "Never give up, hon, you have a fire in you." But it was hard to feel that fire when your confidence was ash, and a dishwasher flickered in the corner like a silent witness to failure. And then, the unexpected happened. As I turned from the stove, a strange hum filled the kitchen, drawing eyes toward the machine. It buzzed louder, as if something was stirring inside, something we couldn't see. The lights flickered above, casting shadows that danced across the walls. I could hear whispers. Was I imagining it? Did they see it too? Was it real? I glanced at my fellow chefs, their eyes wide, mouths hanging open. Were they feeling the confusion as intensely as I was? The tension in the air thickened, strangling the laughter, replacing it with something darker. I stepped closer, compelled by an insatiable curiosity. The dishwasher shuddered violently, and then the door swung open, spewing out not just plates, but something that glimmered in the light. My heart raced, pounding against my chest like a frantic drum. That a culinary masterpiece? One of the judges whispered, and in that split second, I felt a jolt of hope surge within me. But what kind of culinary disaster was spewing from a dishwasher? Was it a blessing or a curse? I had to know. My mind raced, bombarded by questions. What were the chefs thinking? What if this changed everything? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The moment hung in the air like the last note of a symphony, each breath I took thick with the heavy scent of uncertainty. My curiosity propelled me forward, but just as I stepped towards the open door, a hand clamped down on my shoulder. It was Marcus, a fellow contestant with a reputation for his merciless nature. "What do you think you're doing?" he hissed. There was a darkness in his eyes, a flicker of concern veiled by arrogance. I need to see," I stammered, trapped between fear and intrigue. The other chefs hung back, their expressions a mix of fascination and dread. "Whatever it is, it's not meant for you," he said, his grip tightening, causing the breath in my lungs to hitch. "Let her go, Marcus," said Ava, a chef known for her intricate desserts and a surprising kindness. She stepped forward, eyes softening as they landed on me. "She deserves her chance, just like everyone else," Marcus scoffed at her, but a slight tremor in his posture hinted at his own insecurities. The dishwasher's unexpected contribution seemed to have rattled him, just as much as it ignited the embers of hope inside me. With a reluctant grunt, he released his grip, and I took a cautious step toward the machine. I peeked inside and was greeted by the sight of a small stack of perfect pastries, each delicate and unblemished, glistening as if painted by an unseen hand. The colors were vibrant, colors so stunning they appeared to sing. My heart soared at the sight. Could this truly be the divine intervention I had been waiting for? "Those aren't just any pastries," Ava murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. They have the perfect balance of flavor and texture. If we can harness this moment, but how? I interrupted, my voice trembling with excitement and fear. We can't rely on luck alone. This is our chance, but it's a gamble. Before Ava could respond, the other chefs began to take hesitant steps forward, edging closer to the dishwasher, eyes alit with an urgency. In their presence, I suddenly felt the weight of competition press against me anew. My earlier confidence began to fade as doubt slithered into my mind. That I can't believe him saying this, but maybe we should work together, Ava suggested, her gaze meeting mine. What if we each take a pastry and try to replicate its beauty in our own way? The thoughts collided inside me like pots and pans in a busy kitchen. Part of me welcomed the idea of collaboration, recognizing the kind side of a savage competition. Yet another part, one that had been hardened by months of sleepless nights and bitterness, resisted. Was I willing to share my moment of potential victory? Think of it this way, Ava continued, urgency bubbling beneath her calm exterior. If we create something remarkable, we'll all shine together. The judges might even be impressed that we can put aside our egos. Her words struck a chord deep within, a reminder of brighter days spent cooking alongside friends, of laughter shared over garlic and bread. I had lost that along my way to claiming the title. The noise faded, the ambient smells of the kitchen dissipating as my focus shifted to the pastries. What if this humble dishwasher, this innoxious machine, was begging for something more, encouraging us to rise above our self-made barriers? Just then, the doors burst open as Chef Delacroix, the head judge known for both his brilliance and abrasive nature, swept into the room. My heart raced again, a mix of anticipation and dread. He scanned the kitchen, eyes narrowing at the sight of the gathered chefs. What's going on here? He demanded, stepping closer to the now legendary dishwasher. You think you can dawdle when time is running out? There are still more rounds to complete. A rush of anxiety snaked through me. Did he see the shimmering pastries? Would he view our moment of unity as weakness? As he approached, it felt as if a weight was suspended between USA challenge, a chance, a reckoning. Just as he opened his mouth to unleash a tirade, the lights flickered again, and a soft humming emanated from the dishwasher, louder and more insistent than before. The machine rattled violently, drowning out the escalating tension. My heart sank. This was it, a chance to turn the tide of the competition. Could we rise from the ashes of this moment? And then, the unexpected happened. From the depths of the dishwasher, a single golden cookbook popped out, its cover glossy and freshly printed, with an embossed title reading The Secrets of Culinary Mastery. In that startling hush that followed, my heart dropped. Had this moment turned to magic or disaster? As Chef Delacroix leaned in for a closer inspection and the judges began to murmur, I realized that what lay ahead was anything but certain. The stakes had risen, intertwining our fates in ways none of us could anticipate. The room was enveloped in an electric silence, broken only by the insistent hum of the dishwasher. All eyes were glued to the golden cookbook as it lay innocently on the counter, mocking us with its pristine pages that promised secrets, wisdom, and perhaps, salvation. I could feel my pulse thundering in my ears, a steady reminder that everything I had worked towards was teetering on the edge of uncertainty. Chef Delacroix leaned closer to the book, his expression shifting from irritation to curiosity. What is this? He asked, eyes narrowing as he flipped through the pages. The room felt alive with whispers among the contestants, their voices hushed yet electric with apprehension. Ava's hand brushed against my arm, grounding me as if to dispel my rising dread. We should take advantage of this, she urged softly, her eyes bright with determination. If there are techniques or recipes hidden in there, we can use them to elevate our dishes, but what if it's just a ploy? I countered, my voice barely audible, laced with a mix of skepticism and desire. What if it leads us astray? We can't abandon our culinary identities for something untested. That's the risk we have to take, she responded, tone firm but gentle, as if she were trying to light a flame in the dark corners of my doubt. We've already faced challenges together. Perhaps we can do this too. The tension in my chest tightened. I had spent so long fighting against others, unwilling to share my passion for fear of losing myself. Yet here I stood, at a crossroads, with the flickering hope of collaboration illuminating a path I had never entertained. Everyone, Delacroix's voice boomed, drawing a spotlight back onto us. I suggest you consult this book. But beware, one incorrect move could send you crashing down. You have 1 hour. Impress me, your next dish could be your ticket to the final. With that, the judges retreated back to their watches, the countdown beginning as an added weight to our shoulders. As I took a deep breath, distraction loomed in the corner as Marcus muttered, "This is ridiculous. Who says we can trust each other now?" His words dripped with disdain, igniting old wounds in me. "Best not to think that way," I replied, desperation creeping in as I felt my earlier resolve wavering. "Don't you want to be remembered not just for your talent, but for your collaboration too?" He shot me a look that suggested he considered compassion a weakness, the flicker of jealousy evident. "Don't be naive. This isn't a team sport, it's about survival." A bit of bitterness curled in my stomach, biting down on my excitement. Yet, as I glanced at Ava and the other chefs, I spotted a glimmer of sincerity in their eyes. Was it possible that competing alongside them could create something extraordinary? I grabbed the golden cookbook, lifting it to meet the light. The gilded pages, fighting off a coating of dust, beckoned me as if alive with culinary spirits. I flipped through the chapters, noting intricate recipes and techniques that soared beyond the basics. They spoke of the delicate balance between flavor and presentation, of finding harmony in chaos. Everything that had eluded me in my craft and in the chaos of my newfound potential. I suddenly spotted something, a technique I had never considered before. A simple technique that combined frostings and fillings in a way that was stunning yet practical. The thrill ignited inside me as I shared my discovery with Ava. If we did a layered dessert, we could harness this technique from the book. It will be our signature twist. Her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Yes. We can mix and match. Maybe each one of us crafts a different layer, and together we'll create a masterpiece. Just as I felt the warmth of unity spread through me, an ominous voice cut through like a serrated knife. "Look at you all, working together like a bunch of amateur bakers." It was Marcus, arms crossed, brimming with disdain. "You think sharing a few ideas will save you? You'll fail miserably." I returned his gaze, dodging the venom behind his words. "Maybe we'll surprise you," I shot back, renewed fire swirling in my chest. But deep down, self-doubt whispered its harsh reality. What if collaboration in this hyper-competitive atmosphere ended up being our downfall? Would the judges look down on our unity as a sign of weakness? As the clock ticked on, I pushed those thoughts aside, diving into the rush of creativity unfolding around me. The kitchen buzzed with energy, aspirations kindling in the heat of passion as we all set to work, each chef staking their claim on a piece of the culinary puzzle. Just moments before the timer counted down, a wave of silence fell when a crash resonated through the kitchen. A nearby mixer toppled over, sending a mist of flour soaring into the air. The commotion broke our focus, chaos enveloping us. Marcus, returning to his usual position of intimidation, snarled, "See? This is what happens when you trust someone else. You're all fools." But before I could retort, the chefs suddenly couldn't see what lay beyond the flurry of white dust settling in the air. Panic flared as visibility diminished, and in that moment, I felt a rush of vulnerability wash over me. Would I stand firm in the face of this storm, or would I fade into obscurity once more? When the air finally cleared, my heart dropped. The golden cookbook lay open on the ground, a page torn, lines smudged at the edges. A very crucial recipe was marred, the ingredients combing into a blur. It was our potential hope fractured, yet clinging to the edges of possibility. As Chef Delacroix's voice cut through the rubble, a sense of urgency pierced through me. We had mere seconds to gather our wits and make something extraordinary or witness our dreams shatter before our eyes. Would this be the moment that defined us, or would we bow under the pressure? The atmosphere was thick with apprehension, a collective breath held as we stared at the tattered page that had once been our guiding light. The air crackled with the challenge ahead. One moment, a flicker of dreamlike potential, but now morphing into a daunting labyrinth wrought with uncertainty. I grasped the edges of the open book, fear and determination battling within me. Powerless to ignore the looming shadow of failure, I turned to Ava, whose expression mirrored my own mix of fear and resolve. "We need to recreate the recipe somehow," I whispered urgently, feeling the weight of our fleeting opportunity pressing down on us. "That I can try to remember what we discussed," she replied, her voice laced with a shaky confidence that somehow affirmed our collective strength. Just then, as we rallied around a mutual goal, I noticed the kindness of the other chefs unexpectedly unfold. Amelia, usually fiercely competitive, stepped forward with a gentle hand resting on Ava's shoulder. "I can help. I remember seeing the proportions in the book before it fell. We can recreate the flavor profile together," she offered, her eyes earnest. The warmth of her gesture sparked a newfound gratitude within me. Maybe in the very depths of competition, empathy was not entirely extinguished. There, amidst adversity, a spirit of unison ignited. Marcus, however, scoffed at that very sentiment, unwilling to allow the light to penetrate his gloom. "Do you really think working together will save you? You're setting yourselves up for disappointment," he spat, his jealousy winding through the air like a toxic fog. "What if it's a chance to prove that you can create something greater than any individual?" I countered, feeling the rush of courage swell in my chest. "What if?" "Enough," Chef Delacroix interrupted, his voice commanding. 30 minutes left, off with your fantasies. Deliver a dish that showcases your individual talent, or it all becomes nothing." Each word pierced deeper, entangling my hope with doubt. The clock loomed like a relentless monster, gnashing its teeth, threatening to devour our ambitions whole. I closed my eyes briefly, willing the conflicting emotions to still, remembering why I had entered this competition in the first place, not just for me, but to create something meaningful, to share a part of my soul with the world. Turning back to the chaos, I sought the intense focus I'd had when first picking up the golden cookbook. The ingredients were a mere assortment of colors and smells laid out like misfit toys. Churning ideas swirled within me, but I knew we needed an anchor. "A layered dessert," I proposed, urgency sharpening my voice, as I began pulling components together. "Let's create layers that mirror each of our culinary strengths and fuse them with our personalities. If we take this chance." The others looked at me, hope flickering like a candle. "Right," Ava said, her hands moving again in a dance of preparation. "Let's do lemon curd on top, and I can whip up a wildflower honey mousse for the middle layer." While they began gathering supplies, I stepped closer to Amelia, who was already measuring out flour and butter to construct the cake base. "Thanks for stepping up," I said quietly, soulfully aware of vulnerability and possibility intertwined. In a competition as fierce as this, it's hard to find allies. Amelia gave me a reassuring smile. "Sometimes it's about making connections rather than rivalry. And who knows, we might just surprise them all." But just as we began to believe that perhaps together we could create a masterpiece worthy of this title, the destructive bad luck returned. The electricity in the kitchen faltered, plunging us into barely lit chaos. "What now?" Marcus hissed, looking at the flickering lights as fear seeped back into the room like a thick mist. "Keep going," I shouted, feeling a desperate need to reclaim the momentum we'd begun to build. Moments later, as if fate had its own sense of irony, a sudden jolt surged through the air, cutting off the power entirely. The overhead lights dimmed further, corrosion brushing against every corner of the kitchen. The buzz of chatter turned frantic as some chefs stumbled around, searching for emergency lights, others beginning to panic. My heartbeat quickened, an anxious rhythm pounding against my ribs. The clock was still ticking, time slipping through our fingers like sand. Then a thought ignited a flicker of hope. "Light the gas burners," I called out, scrambling to move amidst the disorder. "We can finish our layers without electricity. Trust yourselves." Ava and Amelia exchanged a determined glance, the fire of belief in their eyes illuminating the shadows around us. The gas burners clicked on, unleashing flickering flames alive with potential as they cast shadows upon our anxious faces. Fueled by urgency, we all moved in unison, a rush of hands and laughter, our fears drowned out by the shared rhythm of resilience. Together we stirred, layered, and created, fervently pouring our essence into the dish hoping for redemption against the darkness tightening its grip. The clamor of footsteps, along with the dim glow of the burners, created an unexpected symphony as we finished our creation just moments before the time was called. The tense atmosphere resurfaced as we stood before the judges once again, our hearts pounding in anticipation. But as Chef Delacroix stepped forward, his gaze stern, retaliation still loomed across Marcus' face, and I knew that while we had forged a dish inspired by hope, a quiet storm brewed on the horizon, one that would reshape our realities forever. Before I could inhale deeply, the stern judge's lips curled into a slight smile. "Innovative," he began, but before he could finish, Marcus interrupted with a smirk that made my stomach drop. "You've made a grave mistake, Delacroix. They were supposed to be individual presentations. Collaboration breaks the rules." An undeniable tension spiraled through the air like a live wire as I realized the stakes had just escalated, the fragility of our hard work suspended on a knife's edge. My heart trembled in my chest. Had we dared to reach too far? In the blink of an eye, everything we had fought for could unravel, leaving only remnants of what once was. The silence that followed Marcus's words settled over the room like a heavy blanket, thick with tension and disbelief. My breath caught in my throat, the weight of his accusation crashing over me like a wave pulling me under. Chef Delacroix's expression hardened, muscles tensing as he stared down at our dish, drawing the moment into a suspended reality where every chef in the room leaned in, grasping for resolution. "Collaboration is encouraged in some contexts, Marcus," he began slowly, his voice measured but full of restraint. "But this competition is predicated on the individual talent of each participant. I will consider your challenge. The only individual talent here has been the buildup of excuses." Marcus shot back, his confidence sharpened. The moment they leaned on one another, they abandoned the core of this competition. Each word he hurled ignited sparks of chaos within me, the uncertainty swirling, wrapping around my heart like a tempest. Had we truly overstepped the boundaries? Had our collective effort shone too brightly for the competition's framework? Internally, I waged war against my growing despair, a fierce determination clawing its way back into my chest. Ava and Amelia stood firm beside me, their eyes filled with a shared belief that perhaps we had betrayed nothing. Instead, we had embraced the spirit of creating something grander than ourselves. Delacroix remained silent for a moment, the intensity of deliberation etched into his furrowed brow. I could almost hear the clock ticking behind him, counting moments away, our hopes debilitating under the pressure. "Innovation can come from collaboration, but it also yields questions of authenticity," he finally said, a sense of finality creeping into his tone that made my stomach lurch. "I will review this unconventional entry." The second I looked towards Marcus, a wicked grin stretched across his face, as though he had known all along that the tender threads of our shared journey hung by a brittle thread. It stung like a bitter chill. With just a word, he had flipped the narrative. "What a twisted gamble," he taunted softly, stepping away. "You've just put everything on the line, and you don't even know it." That I felt the heat of embarrassment rush through my veins, a rush that ignited pride, then turned to shame, as I recalled how far we had strayed from my original goal. Had I been foolishly idealistic? Teaming up with others had felt like warmth against the cold, but had it truly been a betrayal of my ambitions? "Don't pay him any mind," Ava murmured, sensing the roiling self-doubt mitigating my resolve. "We did this together." "Together," I echoed, letting the words sink in, its power momentarily soothing my frayed edges, but just as quick as serenity swept over me, that tumultuous uncertainty clawed back, relentless in its pursuit of my hope. As we awaited the verdict, the atmosphere buzzed with unspoken worries. The other chefs were splitsome congratulating us with sincere appreciation etched on their faces, while others, like Marcus, reveled in our potential demise. The battle lines were drawn. Then a surprising voice rose above the chatter, breaking through my swirling thoughts. It was Amelia, her voice equal parts fearless and vulnerable. "You know," she began, drawing the collective gaze of our peers, "the best meals often come from experimentation. We've created a flavor that not only reflects who we are individually but acknowledges the strengths of those by our side." That I felt a surge of gratitude as I glanced at her resolve shining brightly, illuminating this darkened moment and wrapping us in a gentle embrace. Chef Delacroix raised a brow at her impassioned words, intrigued and perhaps unnerved by her unyielding spirit, a subtle acknowledgment in his gaze shifting the tone in the room. "I do appreciate the sentiment," he replied, a hint of warmth shining through his strict demeanor. Yet, the finality of judgment loomed, a shadow stretching beyond our comfort. In that heartbeat, the overhead lights flickered back to life with a buzz, the contrast stark against the still tense room. Yet the ruckus only heightened my fear, threats lingered like ghosts though we nearly had clarity restored. With the clamor in the background, I turned my focus back to Ava and Amelia, desperation tightly coiling in my chest. "What if he disqualifies us?" I whispered, voice trembling uncertainly. But before they could respond, the tension in the room transformed as Chef Delacroix turned to announce the final decision. "I will allow your dish to be presented to the panel today. You shall receive the opportunity to highlight your collaboration." He paused, dramatically allowing the moment to rest heavily in the air, "but, should it fail to impress, I will have no choice but to discount you from the competition." A collective gasp sounded, the weight of his words crashing down both a lifeline and a guillotine, the light of opportunity mingling with the lingering darkness of doubt. Fury and fright collided inside me, my heart thundered like a wild storm, the enormity of the challenge leaving me breathless. Knowing that all of our work hinged on a single moment was frightening, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirling as I tried to gather my thoughts. The question burned into my mind: how could we possibly impress a panel of chefs steeped in tradition with a collaborative dish? But then a voice emerged quietly from the other end of the kitchen, drawing my attention. An elderly janitor, who often worked late interactions, casually wiped down a countertop, seemingly taking in the air of uncertainty we radiated. "Sometimes," he said softly, "the most powerful creations are born from chaos. Don't forget it's the heart you put in that counts, not just the rules you break." I blinked, taken aback by this unlikely source of inspiration. "Thank you," I replied, sincerity woven through every syllable, realizing his unexpected kindness had sparked a glimmer of hope. And with that, I turned back to Ava and Amelia. "Let's showcase our best, no matter what happens," I declared, our unbreakable connection now intertwined in purpose. "Let's give our souls to this idea. We'll create something that captures not just flavors but our journey." A chord of unity hummed between us, carried on whispers of determination. But the spotlight soon grew unbearable, enveloping us in scrutiny as we stood ready. And as I made my way to the front, doubts swelled within me again. Would our collective tale be enough to resonate with the judges or lead to a final downfall? Before I could push those thoughts away, my heart dropped as my gaze met Chef Delacroix's searching eyes. He nodded toward the dish, gesturing for us to begin. Yet, emotions tangled like a storm, unknown destinies danced just beyond reach. Suddenly, a slip of paper fell from my pocket, unnoticed until now. I reached swiftly to catch it, only to recognize the words and note that had previously echoed within my thoughts: "Only the brave can taste joy from the bitterness." Before I could process, a sharp gasp drew all eyes, including my own, to Ava. Blood drained from her face as her eyes widened in panic, and in that moment of sheer terror, the kitchen became still, suspended in apprehension. What is it?" I demanded, hurriedly stepping closer, my heart racing. She pointed to the dish, her voice trembling. "We've added the wrong ingredient." My breath caught in horror, panic choking me as I scanned the table, dread coiling tightly in my stomach. Could the last 10 minutes unravel into chaos? Unexpected hope had ignited our spirits, but at that moment, I felt the bitter threat of impending failure surge to overshadow it. Was our collaborative endeavor already marked for doom before it even had a chance to shine? The air shifted, charged with tension as I absorbed Ava's revelation, dismay clawing at my insides. "The wrong ingredient?" I echoed, my voice barely a whisper, fear crawling up my spine. Images of our dish, our hopes, collapsing in a catastrophic spiral spun rapidly in my mind. Ava's hand pressed anxiously against her forehead, her breaths coming in rapid succession. Two thought it was the one from the recipe card, but when I double-checked after plating, I realized. She hesitated, and in her eyes, I saw a reflection of my own growing despair. Which ingredient? I pressed, my voice steeling, determined not to crumble under this unexpected strain. The saffron, she stammered, finally revealing the monster of our misstep. I accidentally used cumin instead. A hollow laugh escaped me, tinged with disbelief. Cumin? In a delicate saffron sauce? Amelia's expression shifted from shock to an unexpected resolve. Wait. This could still work. Maybe the depth of spices can actually complement the dish, or at least add a new layer of complexity. I could see the flicker of despair battling with something else in her eyes, a fight to cling on to any semblance of hope. But will it rival traditional flavors? I questioned, glancing at the judges looming just beyond the cooking station's counter. Will they understand the intent behind this chaotic twist? No time for that now, Amelia urged, urgency quickening her words. Let's adapt, improvise. We can make it great. I hesitated, doubt loomed larger than ever, a daunting shadow. But beneath all of our uncertainties, a whisper of courage ignited. I caught Ava's determined gaze, recognizing the burning drive not only to succeed but to survive this moment together. All right. Well, declare our ownership of it. Let's go bold and showcase our versatility. I commanded, and together, we sprang into action. Tension buzzed in the air as we moved in a flurry of synchronized movements, chopping, sautéing, and blending what we could to weave a tapestry of flavors that would hopefully spin our impending disaster into something unique. With every stir of the pot, a connection built between the three of us, reaffirming our bond, the collective heartbeat of our dish reflecting not just flavors but our passion, perseverance, and indomitable spirit. Even as chaos danced nearby, our determination solidified, bound by the inherited belief that beauty could emerge from brokenness. The tightrope of our hopes still felt precarious, but the edges were softening, allowing us to breathe. Surprisingly, in the background, amidst the rapid frenetic energy, emerged the janitor again, the unexpected champion of our journey. He was collecting stray dishes and glancing occasionally at us, a warm smile playing on his lips. Finding new paths is where the magic lies, he offered, almost like an elegy, strengthening the delicious warmth bubbling inside us. You're creating just as much as you're competing. His words replayed in my mind like a gentle chorus, reminding me that though rules dictated this battle, our hearts could shape something refreshing from our collective passion. As the final minutes approached, we artfully arranged our dish, each placement deliberate and passionate, infusing it with every bit of our spirit. The cumin surged through the vibrant saffron as a new identity emerged, a bold fusion unlike anything conventional. When Chef Delacroix beckoned us forward, I felt my pulse quicken, a harmony of anxiety and excitement. Together, we held our breaths, letting every angle and every texture tell the story of our unique journey. Could a deviation from tradition weave a tale that resonated? As we plated the dish, Marcus positioned himself just behind the judges like a wolf sensing its prey. His smug demeanor burrowed under my skin, igniting my determination to prove him wrong. This wasn't a competition of isolation, no, it was acceptance, growth, and a reflection of shared experiences. Well, what do we have here? Chef Delacroix's voice sliced through the apprehensive silence as he surveyed our creation, intrigue transforming his steely demeanor into something more curious. This dish is a challenge to convention, I began with a shaky confidence, my voice barely steadying the tremors within. In reflecting both individual and collaborative journeys, we aimed to redefine what this competition embodies, a celebration of unity. Just as I spoke, a faint sound of laughter perked up from the sidelines, taking my attention momentarily. I turned my head to see someone in the distance, a figure among the cheering crowd, their face skewed in recognition. The finality of my words hung in the air as his gesture became clear, a wave from a familiar face in the audience. Derek, my childhood friend and someone I hadn't spoken to in years, was there, his smile radiant and oddly surreal against the storm of chaos. But before I could decipher the meaning of this unexpected reunion, Ava's voice pierced through my surprise. They're tasting it. I turned back, heart racing anew as they took their first bites. Minutes dragged, our pulsating hopes intertwined with the faintest hint of dread. Would our twists and turns land us in despair or elevate us against adversity? And there it was, an eruption of whispers rippling through the audience, rising to a crescendo as the judges deliberated. Chef Delacroix's expression shifted, a mix of surprise and contemplation flashing across his face. Yet, the voice of temptation from Marcus crept closer, slicing through our moment of victory, piercing uncertainty coursing through my veins. You think mere improvisation can dethrone tradition? He spat, his eyes glinting with derision. Their decision could easily swing back around. Panic surged anew, an unwelcome reminder of instability amid what seemed a fragile victory. Could the judges truly recognize the authenticity we had poured into our dish? As the culinary battlefield became an arena of verdicts, the unease thickened. But when the judges finally conferred at the head of the table, one thing felt ensnared in my good, a certainty that our journey remained incomplete. Now it all rests in their hands, but they might just surprise you, the janitor murmured, tucked comfortably in a corner, his wise eyes fluttering with assurance. But my gaze flicked back to Derek, still waving, a wave that turned into a furrowed brow, a symbol of confusion I couldn't ignore. My heart raced as I caught sight of another figure behind him, shadowed in uncertainty. Marcus leaned in close, whispering mischievously, "Bet you didn't see that coming." The impending doom hung thickly in the air, my thoughts racing. Would the turmoil of this moment cling to the past or mark a new beginning? The very ground of certainty felt unstable, and I braced myself for the thundercloud of outcomes looming ahead, knowing fully that my world was about to shift once again. The tension swirled like steam rising from a pot, cloaking everything in uncertainty. My muscles tightened, still acutely aware of Derek's presence, that distant lament of our shared past echoing in my mind. The laughter from the crowd became a muffled drone, fading as my focus tunneled around the figures in front of me. Our dish in the center, a creation born from chaos, precariously balanced on the precipice of fate. Improvise, adapt, overcome, I whispered under my breath, clutching onto the words like a talisman against the growing discord. The judges continued to deliberate, and the atmosphere felt heavy with expectation. Each passing second stretched impossibly long, increasing the intensity of my racing heart. I glanced at Ava and Amelia, disbelief mingling with the hope sparkling in their eyes. This had become more than just a dish, it was everything we had fought for, a testament to our aspirations and the strength of our bond. But Marcus loomed too close, his sneering words echoing in my mind. "Bet you didn't see that coming." I hated that he might hold the key to my unease, a master lockpick twisting the narratives of our journeys. Why had he come here, stirring the cauldron of doubt deeper into my heart? "Stop looking at him," Ava urged softly, sensing my distraction. "Focus on us. On this moment." Her struggle against the shared uncertainty resiliently blinked back the overwhelming doubt eating away at my hope. Still, my eyes drifted to Derek, his expression gradually shifting as he locked onto mine, concern etching itself across his features. What was it he saw in me that stirred that worry? Had he witnessed our struggles over the years, the never-ending confrontation with dreams that seemed so out of reach? Perhaps I miscalculated. Marcus' voice slithered closer, wind like poison on the back of my neck. Compelling storytelling is one thing, discerning the flavor is another. You still have to impress them. And then I realized wasn't just here to taunt, he was aiming to rattle the very foundation of our collaboration. The fragile unity we nurtured could just as easily collapse under the weight of doubt. Ava reached out and squeezed my hand, steadying the trembling within. "You've got this," she whispered with fierce encouragement. "We've built something beautiful, now let's watch it shine." Their eyes, filled with unwavering belief, turned my heart from chaos to clarity. A sense of resolve anchored itself in my chest, immunizing me against the poison stirring in the air. "Your dish." Chef Delacroix finally spoke, breaking the silence, his voice commanding and deep, as my heart thrummed cruelly in anticipation. "It tells a story, a journey through failure and resilience." But I exhaled sharply, bracing for the hammer to fall. That it takes skill to navigate such boldness. "Combine a departure from your ingredients' essence is daring, yet adventurous. And one could argue, even beautiful." He paused deliberately, studying us. However, fear clenched inside me. Would our unorthodox narrative translate into praise, or would it be dismissed as a misguided attempt? As he continued to reveal his analysis, a spark ignited in the distant periphery of my vision. Derek's frown intensified, like a storm cloud gathering over calm waters. In tandem with that unease, I noticed someone emerge. Marcus shifted too, his posture tightening as he directed his intent toward Derek. My heart lurched. Did they know each other? I felt removed from our culinary battleground, an audience to an entirely different drama unfolding. Each moment ticked away, heavy and charged, as Derek walked further into the fray, determined. Derek, I murmured, feeling my throat constrict as he moved closer. What are you doing here? He called out, eyes locked onto Marcus with steely resolve. I don't think you want to get involved in this, Derek, Marcus replied, a sly grin creeping across his face, revealing teeth like the blade of a knife. Stick to applause, leave the cooking to those who can actually do it. Suddenly, everything felt precarious. My heart pounded like a war drum between three fronts. This competition, the growing rift between my past and present, and the overshadowing shadow of Marcus. My mind spun in a flurry of possibilities, my instincts screaming for caution. Enough. Chef Delacroix interjected sharply, the weight of authority slicing through the tension thick enough to feel. This isn't the place for personal vendettas. This is about culinary creation. Marcus' slick exterior bubbled slightly, anger threading his voice. Not if it distracts from the performance. My breath caught, suddenly aware of the real conflict at play. It was about more than just a dish now, it had morphed into a test of not only culinary skill but emotional endurance. A thread snapped. Derek took another step forward, and I felt the whole world tilt as he addressed me. Do you need me? An unlikely warmth swirled within me. And yet, the storm clouds churning with emotions from the past threatened to pour over everything, drowning whatever connection remained. In this cascade of flavor, faith, and fury, I couldn't fully understand his presence, nor could I see if it would be the salvation or the demise of our hope. I felt utterly suspended, caught in between. As the judges whispered among themselves, Marcus moved closer to Derek, their proximity sparking an electric connection that sent chills down my spine. The moment begged for resolution but offered none. Get back, I warned instinctively, my voice tinged with urgency. Would the outcome of our creation be overshadowed by a confrontation steeped in the past? As I watched Derek hesitate, taking in my desperation, the weight of our past clashed violently against the promise of our present. Just then, the door swung open towards the chaotic expanse of the world outside, offering escape and new beginnings, and as I prepared to confront both my past and uncertain future, in that electrifying instant, I realized I didn't just need him for what he once was, I needed him for what we both could become, but what would our resolve yield? Would our journey through luminous connections fend off the darkness looming like a cyclone, or would it scatter into fragments before ever blending into something breathtaking? With that question grazing my thoughts, I faced the judges and steadied myself, willing to embrace whatever lay beyond this meal, beyond this moment. Chef, I called, cutting through the clamor, feeling both exhilarated and terrified as the universe spiraled toward an unknown conclusion. Would the journey send ripples that embraced change and growth, or would I discover that everything had indeed begun to crumble? The din of the competition felt like it was rushing around me, a cacophony of clattering plates and nervous laughter, blending into a thundering heartbeat that echoed in my ears. Each beat resonated with the palpable tension intensifying between Marcus and Derek, the air thick enough to taste. Do you need me? Derek's voice was almost swallowed by the chaos. I didn't know how to answer, for while his presence felt familiar, it was also distinctly foreign, a reminder of battles fought and wounds still trembling beneath the surface. I wanted to say yes, I needed him, but the unspoken history between us complicated everything. Just stay focused on the dish, I managed, my words thin and trembling, like the very fabric of the hope we had woven together. Ava, sensing the tumult within me, leaned closer. You've got the courage to forge your own path, right? Derek too. Just the fact that he's here means something. Her reassurance wrapped itself around me, soft and nurturing. Another ripple of tension shot through the room as Chef Delacroix turned to the judging panel. Let's not lose sight of why we're here. Your dish is a testament to resilience, but it must also shine with finesse. And then, like a strange twist of fate, the kitchen door swung open again, and in walked a dishwasher, decrepit old machine, the kind that had seen countless battles in restaurant kitchens. My heart dropped, momentarily distracted. What's that doing here? Marcus lifted a brow, derision dripping from his words. His sneer made me want to shield the battered machine from his scorn, a strange affinity forming in this moment. It represented labor, hardship, and yet somehow a lighter spirit that transcended the pretenses of wealth that surrounded us. That it belongs to the heart of the kitchen, I responded without thinking, my voice steady and filled with unexpected conviction. It washes away the remnants of failure. It's as pivotal as any chef, if not more. Derek's expression shifted subtly, pride mingling with surprise. It was an acknowledgement, a fleeting glimpse of what could be if we stood together against the judgment hanging in the air. Marcus retaliated, a bitter laugh escaping his lips as he leaned closer to my face. How poetic. But tell me, did you really think that your story can practically scrub away the glamour of a Michelin star? Why should it have to? I felt a surge of defiance ignite within me. Maybe what we need isn't just perfection but authenticity. We can't all be polished stainless steel. Sometimes, the heart of the work is in the chipped surface and the stories hidden behind those imperfections. Chef Delacroix's eyes gleamed with interest, clearly recognizing the weight of what I had just blurted out. The digits on the judges' scorecards flickered, seemingly impacted by my proclamation, yet that familiar urgency surged within me. What had started as my own voice was now a chorus of our combined essence. Around us, the kitchen pulsed with energy, the washing sound of dishes, steam rising around us like a haze of unfolding memories. I mustered the courage, breathing deep, feeling the surge of resilience filling my veins. Remember, it's not just about the food, it's about the stories we tell, I said, turning to Ava and Amelia, who appeared reassured by my fierce sincerity. And that's our dish. A compelling story is more valuable than the most refined technical element if it resonates. Ava clasped my arm, a ripple of warmth and shared understanding passing between us. Yes. Let's show them what it means to cook with our hearts, she said, her eyes sparkling with zeal. The moment stretched infinitely, heavy with anticipation. But then, much to my disbelief, I felt the ground beneath us shift. Derek had pulled back, confusion igniting in his gaze like an unattended fire. Are you sure this is how you want to present ourselves? He asked softly, uncertainty pooling in those familiar depths. Because they're not looking for raw honesty. They want perfection. A sharp pang struck my chest. He was right in a way. The lingering feeling of inadequacy clawed at my confidence. Grasping at the threads of hope I had woven with such care. But I couldn't let that darkness dictate my path. Sometimes, it's the rawness that leaves the most profound impression, I pressed, my resolve hardening into something stronger. Let's show everyone what we truly are. Marcus cut through the moment, like a jagged edge, twisting the smooth flow of optimism. It's amusing to see you fight for that unrefined truth when the judges are prepared to send you crying home. Perhaps it all boils down to the dishwasher after all. The way he said it struck a nerve, the shake of his fingers hinting at mockery, taunting everything I held dear. But as I looked at Derek, who now seemed more uncertain than ever, another sensation began to unravel within me, a desperate desire to protect not just our vision, but his trust. Enough of this. Chef Delacroix's voice rang out sharply again, cutting through the noise of Marcus' callousness. This is a competition, but it is also a stage for stories. If you can harness that, then you may just have the edge. The judges shifted in their seats, glancing among themselves, the whispers resonating like soft thunder. The intensity of their scrutiny felt like a physical weight pressing down on me, threatening to break what little composure I clung to. We were standing on the precipice of something so fragile, a creation caught between brilliance and ruin. The dishwasher stood resolute behind me, a reminder of what it meant to sweep away the flaws but also to embrace them. Just then, an unexpected spark ignited in my heart, a flicker of unity that dared to bridge the gap between past and present. Without thinking, I stepped forward. We're here to celebrate every crumb of our journey, I declared to everyone, feelings tumbling out unrestrained now. As the words flowed from my lips, a shiver of excitement coursed through the crowd, and I felt the steadfast warm grip of Ava's hand in mine. In that moment, they were not just judges, they were witnesses to our story, but as the buzz of whispers grew louder, threatening to overwhelm me, fluctuations of doubt coursed through my veins. Had I truly just laid bare the most intimate parts of myself? What awaited us beyond this fragile moment? I met Derek's gaze once more, the murky waters of his expression promising as much uncertainty as it did hope. Could we really navigate this path together, raw and unfettered, even as the looming shadow of Marcus threatened to snuff out the light we fought so hard to ignite? As the judges prepared to render their judgment, eyes darting between us, I realized that in this fragile tapestry of emotion, I would have to decide whether to embrace the brilliance or let the scars define us once more. And in that breathless silence before the verdict, the possibilities lingered like an unanswered question in the cool air. What would the judges ultimately decide, and what paths lay ahead for me, Derek, and the bonds we had courageously fortified against the world? The tension in the kitchen thickened, nearly suffocating as the judges scribbled notes, their expressions inscrutable. I felt a whirlwind of emotions coursing through my fear mingling with a flicker of hope. The precarious balance we had struck seemed ready to topple at any moment. I glanced around the kitchen, my teeny family in unexpected ways surrounded me with resolute faces, determination radiating from Ava and Amelia. Even amidst the gathering storm, Marcus hovered like a dark cloud, exuding disdain with every sneer. His dismissive attitude was relentless, each barb designed to stab at the very core of our shared resolve. "This is what you risk when you decide to wear your heart on your sleeve," he countered, his voice smooth yet taunting. "Messy, vulnerable, and utterly unrefined. Let's see how it all plays out when the clock runs out." But as he spoke, something shifted in the air around us. The grinding gears of Derek's internal conflict came to the forefront of my mind. I noticed him step back slightly, like he was retreating into himself, and dread pooled in my stomach at the sight. "Derek," I called out, my voice steadier now, fueled by the urgency of this moment. "We can't let doubt cloud what we know we can achieve. This is our time to Shinito. Let the world see the real essence of who we are." He looked at me with a mixture of admiration and indecision. "But what if they don't want authenticity? What if they want formulas and fireworks instead?" The doubt in his words stung, a reminder that this competition could tear apart the very foundation we tried to build. The unabridged honesty I had offered felt so fragile now, like spun glass waiting to shatter. Ava stepped forward, catching Derek's gaze. "We know our food. We know our stories," she stated fervently, her voice like warm honey. "That's what will set us apart. Not just in this competition, but in the world beyond these kitchen walls. Can you feel that?" She gestured, her expansive arm encompassing the chaos around us, the judges, the flickering lights, and the beating hearts of our culinary family. "We're more than just our failures, we're the resilience that pushes us forward. It is that flame that makes our food special." That I felt the weight of her words as they began to sink into the fabric of our collective spirit, drawing a reluctant smile from Derek, yet the skepticism clung to him like a shadow. "There's still so much at stake." Before I could respond, Chef Delacroix's voice boomed again, demanding our attention. "Time is nearly up. You have only moments to finalize your dishes, but do not forget, your stories matter. They always will." An air of finality settled over us like a cloak, and with a rush of adrenaline, I hurled myself towards our workstation, each movement instinctual as I made the final adjustments. Ingredients came together, my hands deftly folding and twisting, coaxing passion from chaos. My heart beat in time with the chaos, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this. Amelia came to my side, her face one of fierce determination. "I noticed that the citrus foam didn't set properly earlier. Is there a way we can add a touch of flavor without losing the balance?" Her insight, a burst of light amid the encroaching darkness, fanned the flames of our creativity. Paradoxically, in sharing our fears and vulnerabilities, we had created an unwavering bond. Together, we forged a new path, a reminder that we could rise despite the odds. "Lemon zest," I said suddenly, inspired. It'll add depth without overpowering. Let's do it. We worked seamlessly, laughter cutting through the tension. But not long after, Derek stepped back to observe, worry stretching his features. I wanted to pull him into the warmth we had ignited, to deflect the shadows encroaching on his spirit. Derek, you're part of this too. I urged, my heart weary but fierce. Can't you see? Are you going to let fear erase your identity? We need your voice. That he stared at the scattered ingredients, the quiet hum of the kitchen blending with the echoes of his restless thoughts. What if I'm just not enough? What if I hold you back? His words pierced me to the core. The flickering hope I had fought to cultivate caught in my throat, but I pushed back the stinging realization that echoed in his confession was afraid of being discarded again. Listen, I said, managing a gentle smile amidst the upheaval. None of us are alone in this. It's messy, complicated, but together we can tell a story akin to a beautiful tapestry, a collection of threads woven to tell something much grander than just individual achievements. That he searched my gaze, looking for something: confirmation, clarity, perhaps a hint of the secret ingredient I had tucked away. And then the moment hung there, pregnant with possibility. Just as we finally began to bridge that distance, a sudden crash echoed from the other side of the kitchen, a heavy pot tumbling over, accompanied by a shriek of surprise. All heads turned in alarm as a figure rushed forward, the tremor of anxiety rippling through the crowded room. It was one of the other contestants, wide-eyed and panicked, as the mess she had created was already alarming. The sound of chaos pulled us back momentarily, grounding everyone in a newfound reality where competition gave way to camaraderie. Are you okay? I called out, instinctively rushing toward her. She was kneeling on the ground, helplessly trying to gather the splintered remnants of her dish. Everyone paused, and in that stillness, a flicker of kindness ignited as my team joined me. We set aside our own aspirations, banding together to help gather what we could for her. Yet as we offered assistance, glancing back at the judges' panel in the periphery, a chill shot through me. I caught Derek's eye, and in that intense moment a silent understanding flared amidst the disarray. Just then, the head judge, a woman with piercing eyes, leapt up from her seat. This is exactly what we need to see. What a beautiful display of unity. Her voice reverberated through the air like a melody of hope. Suddenly, the plunging pit of despair we had tiptoed around felt like a distant reality until I realized a new layer of uncertainty surging through. What if it all unraveled again? What if that connection we fought to hold on to evolved into something further complicated in the face of judgment? The sudden closure loomed closer than ever, catching every bit of hope within reach. Our hearts hung in the balance, breathing life into a newfound connection, but there lingered the never-ending question: could we withstand the scrutiny of judgment and rediscover our strength as a collective force of nature? And as the clock ticked its final seconds, I felt a rush of fear bubble to the surface, a realization that even amidst unexpected kindness, the darkest shadows still loomed ahead, waiting, hungry, ready to test us once more. Did I dare hope that the truth we embraced would resonate in what lay ahead, or would the fear of its complications shatter everything we had strived to build? The kitchen held its breath as I watched the final seconds tick away, the clamor of pots and pans retreating into an anxious stillness. My heart pounded like a drum, each beat echoing the weight of our combined hopes and fears. Ava, Amelia, and I stood united, a triumvirate of shared aspiration hovering at the threshold of our destiny. The chaotic flurry faded, leaving a raw vulnerability that settled around us like a shroud. Derek lurked at the fringes, the uncertainty etched across his face like a tapestry unwoven. I could feel the doubts threatening to pull him away from this transformative moment, the enticing sense of belonging woven within my team, juxtaposed against his lingering isolation. I wanted to reach out, to pull him into our warmth, to offer him sanctuary amidst this brewing storm. With the last seconds eclipsing in our view, I took a deep breath, the air palpable with anticipation. We've traveled so far, I said, summoning the courage to lean into the uncertainty. Together, we've forged something beautiful. This isn't just about winning or losing, it's about what we allow our hearts to experience. I searched for the resolve in Derek's eyes, willing him to see beyond his own trepidation, and then the clock chimed like a distant bell tolling from far beyond, final, irrevocable, ushering in our fate. The kitchen erupted in energy as the judges approached, each of their expressions unreadable, grim faces hovering over our creation. It was strange how this critical juncture felt like a culmination of everything we had fought for. As the head judge took a step closer and lifted the glass cloche from the dish, I felt a rush of trepidation. What would they think of our unorthodox approach? What would they say about the cumin that twisted away from the saffron's embrace? Would they sense the authenticity we poured into this compilation of flavors, or would they dismiss it as folly? Their forks glided delicately through the layers of our creation, breaking harmoniously into the carefully constructed pieces we had assembled. The room barely held its breath. Then it happened, the first bite that I could see the mix of emotions flickering across their faces, each smirk, each raised brow offering either glimmers of hope or ominous shadows intruding upon our moment. The air was electric with anticipation, the disjointed sounds of disbelief and approval blurring together. Derek stepped forward, a tentative joining of our paths, wrapping his fingers around the shared experience like a lifeboat thrown into choppy waters. This, he stammered, almost as if formulating the words in real time. It's beautiful. It speaks to something, he continued, the hesitations wielding a sincerity that resonated deeper than mere compliments. The head judge's eyes flicked to mine, an unyielding intensity sparking between us. You've approached this competition with an innovative perspective, with courage belying tradition. And therein lies the essence of your journey, tension woven through unity. Emboldened by his words, I reclaimed the confidence I thought eluded me. We aimed to honor each layered story, the imperfections in every ingredient reflecting the struggles we've faced. It's about the spirit behind the food, our spirit. The judges exchanged glances, slight nods revealing that my words struck a chord deep within their hearts. Ava's hand squeezed mine, and I felt the warmth traverse through every pore. This was more than just a dish, it was the embodiment of everything we'd conquered. As the deliberations continued, rippling hierarchies among the judges began to shift. The energy in the room spiked, curiosity crackling across the bittersweet canvas of hope and trepidation. Was this it? Could we really have broken the mold? A moment later, the head judge cleared his throat, eyes flicking from plate to panel, a slow deliberation dancing on the tip of his tongue. Your story matters. Today, you've demonstrated that creativity stems from shared experience, that the courage to step beyond individualism can yield extraordinary outcomes. This isn't merely a dish to be consumed, but a memory to cherish. This was the moment when the unknown twisted into reality. Congratulations, he continued, I am pleased to announce that you not only advance but have set a new precedent on what culinary artistry can capture. You are our finalists. An explosion of emotions surged through the room. The collective gasp for air mingled with bursts of laughter, tears of joy trembling on the edges of many of my competitors' eyes, including my own. This wasn't merely victory, it was a promise, a declaration of the worthiness of our struggles. And then there was Derek, standing beside me in that cascade of emotions, eyes shining with a radiant authenticity. You did it, he breathed, his smile igniting a warmth within my chest. It was a bridge back to the future, a tentative yet unbreakable strand of connection I had thought was lost. The kitchen swelled with cheers, the whirlwind of competition transforming into something utterly profound. I pulled him closer, enveloped in the embrace of something greater than ourselves, the recognition that we had chosen to rise not just as finalists, but as a family forged through the fires of passion, adversity, and ultimately, forgiveness. In that moment of pure jubilation, a deep acknowledging smile danced between us. The trials we had faced paled against the dark background of potential defeat, forgotten in the face of unity. I was reminded of my mother's words, her warmth reappearing within my heart, accompanying me through this wondrous moment. As the crowd began to disperse, I caught a glimpse of the dishwasher, standing stoically at the corner, a humble reminder of where our journey began. I smiled at it, understanding now that in pursuit of our dreams, we had inadvertently discovered the art of connection and shared purpose. The world expanded before me, bathed in the warmth of dawn's glow. Although we had faced fears and uncertainty, we found ourselves not defined by them, but rather enriched through shared experience, understanding, and passion. With newfound courage, I turned to Derek once more, the shadows of our past dissipating into something vibrant. Let's keep creating, I said, my voice firm. Let's strive for more than just success, let's walk this path together. His eyes glimmered with possibility, a raw, unguarded truth that we might still discover how to navigate that deep uncertainty, finding strength in our togetherness. We stood on the precipice of something magical, an open invitation waiting for us beyond every door of uncertainty. The journey before us shimmered like a constellation, boundless, waiting to be explored. As I looked up towards the sky, I whispered a final promise, one that transcended all earthly ambitions: together, we will create a world worth savoring.